Hello guys, welcome back to another video on the Stratus Forecast Weather Channel. In today's video we're going to be going over your latest weather forecast for the next couple of weeks. Now, obviously you may know that the farther you go in a weather forecast, the more inaccuracy is going to be removed, obviously. So it's going to get more inaccurate as you go. Now, in today's video we're going to be talking about the potential for multiple winter storms. I wouldn't call it a heat wave by any means. Obviously, a heat wave is like when you get like, I don't even know, 80, 90 degrees plus temperatures for like an extended period of time. We're not talking about anything like that. We're just talking about a brief warm up, maybe a couple of warm ups, since the weather models are now agreeing that we could see a few warm ups. We're going to be also focusing on a severe weather threat that could be impacting the deep south. This goes to about the Texas area, extending potentially even as far east as the Tennessee area. We don't have any specifics on severe weather as of now, but that will definitely be a thing to keep an eye on, and we're not even that far out from seeing that potential. The weather models are starting to agree that we're going to see some sort of area of low pressure develop somewhere around the Dallas, Texas area. They will eventually move off to the northeast and provide some other varieties of precipitation from snow to rain. I don't really expect any thunderstorms across the northeast. It's kind of a little bit too cold to have that. But obviously you do have thunder snow. That's always a potential. We'll also be watching the potential for a Arctic front in the Canadian area, specifically near the Ontario area, that will move through Quebec and across the northern half of the country, especially in the northeast. We're going to see a line of scattered snow showers and snow squalls. Remember, snow squalls are kind of like a heavier burst of snow with potentially even some gusty winds embedded in them. Kind of a thunderstorm if you think of it in that kind of way. But, yeah, so right now we're just going to get into the future. We're going to get into the radar and satellite. So right now we're dealing with some snow showers across the upper plains. Well, not so much the upper plains, but clipping parts of the Great Lakes area. This does extend as far west as the Minnesota area. In the northeast, getting on some snow shower activity as well. I'm not really seeing in the form of snow squall, but as we zoom out on some of these are lake effect snow showers. Lake effect snow showers continue to move off to the east. As you can see, some of these snow shower bands are just getting heavier as they move off to the east. In parts of, especially Watertown, New York, we are under it's either a winter storm warning or some sort of lake effect snow warning for like over 8 inches of snow, which that's nothing new to them. They've been pounded by snow all winter. But we're also looking across parts of the western half of the country. I'm not sure exactly what's going on with the map right now, but that's what it is. Colorado area, about through the western half of the country, especially into San Francisco, dealing with some snow showers and rain showers. Obviously, the snow showers indicate where the colder air is, and the rain showers indicate where the warmer air is. A little bit of mixed precipitation I just saw. Maybe not. I thought I saw a little mixed precipitation happening in the southeastern corner of New Mexico. Houston, Texas, getting a little bit of shower activity. I highly doubt this is even falling because the air mass down there is so dry at this moment. But yeah, we're not really going to focus on the temperatures since the temperatures aren't really that big of a story. They're for the northeast. Obviously, the temperatures are still hovering in the teens. In some cases, we're on the immediate coast. Some we're dealing with 20s. It's going to be another cold night tonight. I don't think it's going to be near as cold as it's been the last couple of nights. But yeah, let's get into the future radar. Also, before we do that, we have a few things to look at here. First off, we have the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook from the CPC, or the Climate Prediction Center. Above average temperatures expected for the southeast, mostly the far southeastern half of Mississippi. That covers the southern half of Alabama and Georgia. It even clips a little part of far southeastern Louisiana and the entire state of, well, mostly the entire state of Florida. There's a little bit southern half of there that is not really as likely to see a chance. But basically, as we zoom in on this, as you can see, this kind of, not red, but kind of almost pink shaded, this is your most likely chance of seeing above average temperatures. So, and then we're expecting in the west, for pretty much the entire western half of the country, maybe getting away from Utah and areas like that with below average temperatures expected like that. Not at highest probability as you're seeing in the southeast, but definitely below average temperatures are expected by the Climate Prediction Center. The northeast dealing with near normal, and then there's a little bit of a eastern half of Maine that's dealing with I'd say like leaning below average temperatures, slightly below average temperatures. And this is the 8 to 14 day temperature outlook, once again by the CPC, or the Climate Prediction Center. So again, this time it's kind of interesting. So this is kind of what I was seeing in the weather models. So we're seeing kind of a warm air rising up the east coast that provided some rain showers and isolated severe weather. Again, Florida the jackpot for the above average temperatures, and that does clip parts of far southeastern Georgia and parts of the Carolinas, and even extending through parts of Alabama. And then obviously the chance obviously gets lower the more you head to the north and to the west. But this will clip parts of Maine as well and parts of New England. But notice basically the south central areas of Texas all the way back up through the Ohio Valley and partially clipping the Great Lakes region, and then the interior northeast in New England getting on some just about near normal temperatures. Below average temperatures really take apart, take over pretty much not the entire United States, but a good portion of it. I'd say like 60 to 75%. But obviously the jackpot is the Pacific Northwest and the Upper Plains and the Central Plains. This goes all the way down through parts of Kansas, especially the northwestern half of Kansas. And below average temperatures also expected for California. Here's a precipitation guide, and I kind of want to keep on showing this because, the weather models are kind of all over the place right now. They're thinking we're going to get a major snowstorm in the northeast, and we're thinking we're going to have severe weather. They're starting to get on board with each other. Obviously, we are still several days out, so things can obviously change. But I think this paints a pretty good picture of what's going to happen. I'd say this is pretty much, I wouldn't say it's a jackpot, but it's pretty close. So above average precipitation expected for pretty much the entire United States. Just avoiding parts of far southwestern United States. This includes areas of like southeastern Arizona, southwestern parts of New Mexico, and far western parts of Texas. But it also near normal temperatures expected for, again, about the central south area of Arizona, as well as parts of south central and southwestern parts of New Mexico, and this also covers parts of Texas as well. It'll be more than the western half of Texas. Near normal temperatures expected for parts of Florida and clipping the far southeastern edge of Georgia and even the far eastern half of Maine. This is the 8 to 14 day precipitation outlook by the CPC, once again the Climate Prediction Center. Dealing with above average precipitation expected for pretty much the entire United States except for a few spots. Then those other few spots will be far southern Georgia, pretty much the entire state of Florida, maybe not getting all the way into parts of far northwestern parts of Florida. But we're dealing with near normal temperatures expected for the southern half, southwestern half of California, the south central half of Arizona, and the southwestern, I'd say almost central, south, and southwestern parts of New Mexico, as well as the western half of Texas. Also, not to mention, we're also having a near normal precipitation chances for the extreme Pacific Northwest. So here's the temperatures, the guideline for the temperatures for the next couple of days. Notice things are not near severe. We had negative 40 below temperatures, especially for those wind chills in the upper plains, particularly in the North Dakota area. But above average, well, I wouldn't say above average, but decent temperatures throughout the southeast and covering much of the state of California, and Mexico is just surging with heat and just fueling. So most of these temperatures rise from about the 35-degree mark, stretching all the way up into the central plains and southern areas of the Midwest, all the way down to the southeast, where temperatures go quickly from 35 to about 60 degrees in a few spots. Obviously, these temperatures off ocean are a little bit warmer, but that's that. The northern half of the country remains, I'd say, pretty much average for the month of January. Obviously, we're getting close to the end of January now, but the northeast and pretty much the entire half of the northern half of the country is dealing with pretty cold temperatures right now. 20s, and we're dealing with the cold spot. It's not in the United States, unfortunately, but a few spots are reaching around 8 degrees. Oh, actually, there's a 5 degrees mark right there. So as we go through the next couple of days, we're going to see this warmth building. It's going to have a hard time pushing through, but we're going to see a little bit of sneaky warmth building in the southern New England. Again, this is nothing out of the ordinary like we've seen a few winters ago where we saw, I think it was like 80 degrees temperature in the middle of January. Nothing like that. We're just dealing with slightly above average temperatures. Maybe reaching the 30 to 40. Probably not even close to 50 degrees. But 30 to 40 degrees will probably be around that jackpot area for the northern half of the country if you do end up getting in some of this warmth. Obviously, the warmth will be mostly driven by the jet stream and areas of low pressure that form. Typically, high pressures bring more colder air than warmer air, so High pressure system wouldn't really affect this. But obviously, if we had a high pressure drop out of Canada and right through the upper plains and dive right down to the south, you're going to lock in that cold air more, and it's going to drag that cold air down. So as we go through the next couple of days, you're going to notice. So we get this little brief warm up. So it's about Monday. It's around late Monday into Tuesday. We get this brief warm up. It spills into the upper plains, which we haven't seen for a while, and then it gets shoved back down because it's in the nighttime. And this Arctic blast is going to be building in the northeast, and all this cold air up, this Arctic frigid air that's up in the Quebec area and Ontario area, and up to this, whatever lake this is called, is building that cold air. And the polar vortex is actually a little bit farther north than this, but the polar vortex is really what's driving this. But obviously you have to have some sort of weather pattern control, whether it's a low pressure system or a high pressure system, to eventually get this cold air all the way down into the United States. But this does look like a pattern changer. And these temperatures, once again, continue to get warmer. Now we're pushing 40s up into the upper plains. As we continue on, we're still watching this cold air. I think this cold air will eventually make it, but this warm air is it's going to be like a split country scenario. We have a bunch of warm air and then cold air. Cold air has been honestly very dominant across the northern half of the country this winter, and the northeast is yet to see the worst of it. So this cold air will continue to build, and then eventually we're going to get a few cold snaps that we get well below average temperatures, specifically below zero temperatures in the northeast and interior New England. I don't think necessarily we're going to reach like below average temperatures in the mid-Atlantic, but there's always a chance, obviously. But as we continue on, that warm air continues to build, and this is actually an area of low pressure dragging this all the way up there. And then that warm air does reach it, but again, we're not dealing with like severely above average temperatures. Again, a few spots even in Maine, around the Bangor area, in the mid-Atlantic, will probably get into the 40s, maybe a few isolated 50s, maybe to about the what's that state called? Delaware. But about that area from on southward, you're obviously going to get warmer. And cold air is once again building in the northern half of the country. That cold air will eventually win over once again, and it will drag down those temperatures. But then warm air begins to build again. Then obviously it kind of gets shoved down, but it's kind of this is a more fluctuating jet stream right here. So in this case scenario, we're seeing more of a jet stream kind of like this. So this is kind of a more jet stream fluctuation that we don't like to see in the winters. We like to see kind of a jet stream. Well, obviously we want the storms to hit. Well, people that want the storms anyways. You need a fluctuating jet stream. You can't just have a jet stream that's tucked down all the way down across the Gulf Coast, specifically in the Gulf of Mexico, like right along that Gulf Coast line. You can't have a jet stream tucked down that so far. You're not going to get an area of low pressure to go up the seaboard unless you have a fluctuating jet stream. And as far as the European model, this is the newest run from the European model. Again, this is a little bit colder than the GFS model. So as we continue on, that warm air once again will continue to build. Tuesday we'll get into some warm air. I'm not talking like heat wave content. I'm talking about like 30s, 40s, rather than well below zero temperatures. So as we continue on, we're going to get a little rush of cold air in the northeast, and I think this is going to stick around for a little bit longer. So as we continue on, that cold air is going to get pushed all the way down across the state of Maine. We get, depending on what the wind chills are, obviously an area of low pressure is causing this. I mean, you're not just going to have, it's possible, but you're not just going to have a high pressure drag all this cold air down here as effectively as you have an area of low pressure. But these temperatures will get below zero, and it could be quite frigid in some spots. And then that warm air will again build, and it will eventually give us a little brief warm up. But like the past winters across the northeast and pretty much the entire United States, we're not seeing like temperatures go from like teens all the way up to 60 degrees. It's nothing like that. It's just a brief warm up, 30 to near 40. And then cold air wins again, and then warm air is fighting that edge again, and it keeps on getting pushed down. So this indicates that cold air is currently fighting its hardest, and this is what we like to see in the wintertime. So now we're going to get into your precipitation. So again, first things first, California is going to likely get some relief from the fires and the droughts. Not a whole ton of it, obviously, but we will get some rain and some snow in there. And these totals could accumulate to about an inch of rain, and in some spots, well over a foot of snow in the higher elevations. So as we continue on, nothing really gets exciting. I mean, maybe a few isolated showers and scattered showers and a few isolated thunderstorms embedded in some of these showers down in the south. It covers areas like Texas, Louisiana, maybe slivering Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama, and maybe even slivering a little bit of mixed precipitation. As you can see, there's a little bit of pink up here. It's not much, but there's a little bit here. Into Tennessee as well. So as we continue on, that goes through. Then we're watching this area of low pressure. We've been watching this for, hold on. We've been watching this area of low pressure. So it looks like it's going to do something. So around the 27th, we get this strong area of low pressure, like 974 millibars. This is equivalent to like a Category 1 hurricane. Obviously, we're not going to get Category 1 hurricane winds, but we will get some type of strong area of low pressure that will bring a cold front to drag what would be thunderstorms, but in this case, especially in the summertime, but in the winter, we're dealing with more of a snow shower and snow squall line. So this comes through, obviously. So that brings across the state of Maine, and it does reach down into portions of Pennsylvania. It looks like a strong cold front, and it quickly gains strength, and that goes through. And then we get a little bit of a clipper system. This clipper system is a little bit questionable going through the Great Lakes region and onto the northeast of New England. Obviously, this is kind of a colder pattern. The cold air is kind of tied down. This is kind of a weird jet stream pattern, but it kind of goes like this, and the jet stream is kind of tucked down. This is kind of a supportive system for definitely clippers. This will bring a little bit of light snow and potentially even moderate snow to the state of Maine. And the Great Lakes region will receive some abundant lake effect snow showers, and that snow will extend across much of the Northeast. And then here's when things get interesting. So we got ridging in the west, and we've got cold air in the east. So high pressure in control, and these temperatures become warmer than average. Cold air is still dominant in the Northeast, and then we get this area of low pressure to develop. Now, unfortunately for snow lovers, this would not be the typical pattern to see a significant snowstorm. This would be kind of a pattern to see maybe a severe weather outbreak and maybe some rain and snow and mix in some areas, especially like that are cold enough to experience it. But it looks like around Friday we'll see some widespread showers and thunderstorms developing across the state of Texas, maybe sneaking into parts of Kansas, Arkansas, and Louisiana, maybe even stretching those showers as far east as Mississippi to start out the day. This, to me, does not look like a severe weather setup. It's when it gets a little bit interesting. So I'm going to go a little bit slower here. So as we go on, these line of thunderstorms become a little bit more organized. And then we get this linear line of storms that stretches from about the Kansas area and that extends all the way down to basically the southern half of Texas. This is kind of a damaging wind threat, in my opinion. This does not look more of like a tornado threat. Obviously, you can have embedded tornadoes within the line, but that's also, if we have enough shear, obviously, dew points and humidity and other things like temperatures are a big part of it, but mostly shear would drive this, and a low-level jet in this case would definitely promote a damaging wind event. Now, it's too early to tell if this is going to be kind of like a derecho threat or anything like that. Obviously, derecho, there's specific criteria you have to meet, but this looks like it could be something. So then it stretches, and then this is not clearly a picture of a derecho, like a derecho situation, but it's extending those showers and thunderstorms all the way up. Well, I'd say that's more on the heavy rain side. But widespread thunderstorms, this is mostly, these thunderstorms are just too close to each other to cause any major severe weather outbreak as far as a tornado outbreak or, just a severe thunderstorm outbreak in general. And then that continues through. This kind of looks to me like kind of the situation. It doesn't really look like a derecho. It doesn't really have that look to it. Obviously, there's a little bit of bow echo happening with it, but it doesn't look like a good formation for a decent derecho of any means. So that continues on. Notice the area of low pressure is actually weakening, which I think might be partially because there's too high pressures and it really has nowhere to go, but I'm not sure what's going on here. So as it continues on, then the area of low pressure develops again, and we get a mix happening first off. So this goes through. This is going through Sunday. We get snow happening in portions of the interior New England. This goes from about the Massachusetts area, maybe clipping parts of Cape Cod, all the way back up through New Hampshire and Vermont, and eventually Maine. This will go across Maine with snow and snow on Sunday. It'll be as widespread snow before warm air kind of overlaps this and becomes more of a freezing rain, and maybe some brief rain right along the coastline. That system goes through, and then that continues on, and maybe some leftover showers, and then maybe some lake effect snow after that. Then things become quiet, and then we get our next system. Again, a lot of these systems, this is not what you want to see for winter storms like a major nor'easter. The wind systems that go up across like the Great Lakes region, that's not a good recipe for a nor'easter. You'd have to have an area of low pressure that, I mean, and it kind of goes like this and then goes up the seaboard. I mean, that's decent enough. So as we continue on, this becomes a big system, snow spreading across the northeast, and then it becomes a big snow shield. And look how far this front is stretching, and it's not a very strong one either, but I think high pressure is kind of involved with this too, making the pressure gradient look so tight. Snow overspreading pretty much the entire state of Maine, and then a widespread line of showers and thunderstorms, basically from about the the Kentucky area all the way down to Texas. This would probably be a severe weather threat, and then that moves through severe, and then mixed precipitation happens and rain goes through. Continuing on, widespread showers and thunderstorms happening through a lot of the southeast, a lot of these offshore thunderstorms, and then it kind of breaks up and then kind of fizzles out. And then we get our next system, yes, again, another one. And unfortunately it doesn't go all the way out, probably because the European model hasn't fully updated is it the 18Z? The 18Z is yet to come out, but this is basically kind of a look at potentially another rain and wind event for the northeast. High pressure and control obviously going to lead to snow in the beginning, and then it'll eventually change over to rain, but a well-developed system. Heavy snow in the Central Plains, Midwest, and the Great Lakes region. Really heavy snow popping up in the state of Wisconsin. And then a good line of showers and thunderstorms stretching all the way down to the Gulf Coast, but that's that. Alright, here's the GFS model. So again, I want to quickly spread through this also. Area of low pressure across the California area will provide showers. I don't really think it'll be anything too heavy, but there'll be some showers out there that could drain out the wildfire situation a little bit. Showers ending up, again, the GFS model makes things look a little bit more, enhanced and larger in the picture than more spread out than it typically would be. The European model does kind of a better idea with accuracy as far as that goes. But that area of low pressure basically has nothing to it. This cold front looks incredibly intense for a cold front. So this is about Tuesday. A big line of snow squalls going right through the Great Lakes region and heading up through the Maine. Again, this kind of looks like what we would see with the thunderstorm threat. Thunderstorms kind of come through the Canadian area and then go down through Maine. 971 pressure gradient is a very tight pressure gradient. I would imagine there'd be some gusty winds with this as well. And not to mention, snow squalls do sometimes come with gusty winds. That moves through, stays together pretty much the entire time with a strong line of snow showers. Kind of, if you think about a thunderstorm threat, but it's a snow squall threat. And in this area, this is why things are a little bit difficult, because it makes so much more difference if it's like 50 to 100 miles more to the south, or with this 50 to 100 miles more to the north. But the GFS model kind of barely grazes the southern half of Maine, and basically the southern New England and interior northeast. Avoiding Maine gets a decent amount of snow at this. Again, this is kind of like a small little clipper system that'll bring a quick 1 to 3 inches, maybe in some spots maybe a 4 inch in some spots. That system goes through. Then all eyes turn to this system in the southeast, or Texas, for example, for the severe weather threat. Does not look organized. And then it becomes a little bit more organized with a little bit more of a line of thunderstorms. Again, it doesn't have that derecho look to it, but again, we're not even that close to this event happening. I mean, we're still like 6 days out. So it looks like the thunderstorm line will stay together pretty well. And then here we go. That's when you get that bow echo formation. Okay, we're starting to get that bow echo formation. That's kind of a derecho, but obviously it has to go for like 200-mile radius, I think. 200 miles with over like 58-mile-per-hour winds, sustained or gusts, to be confirmed a derecho. That system goes through, leaves a little bit of snow and rain showers for the northeast. That system goes through. The next one comes through. This one looks a little bit more far to the south. This will bring snow, sleet, and some freezing rain, and potentially even rain to the northeast. Again, another system developing. This one looks to be kind of a similar thing with snow, sleet, and freezing rain, and potentially just rain. And then another system develops, kind of goes a little bit far out, but widespread snow and rain. Obviously, I think this area of low pressure is it going to the northeast or what? Kind of going to the northeast. So this would probably be another snow and mix deal again, with kind of an area of low pressure developing off the shoreline. That's kind of the thing that you want to see for a nor'easter.
but it would have to get strong enough, and that's quite a short amount of time for it to get strong enough, and then potentially another area of low pressure developing in portions of Texas. Alright, so here's the GFS model with the latest snowfall accumulation potential. Again, this is the GFS model. Again, we still have the European model to go through. So again, basically the same as yesterday, if not maybe a little bit farther to the northwest. Snow covering the Great Lakes region through Canada, covering pretty much the entire state of Maine, and going through, I'd say pretty much a little bit of holes in there, but Pacific Northwest and California gets on some snow. The western half of the country gets on snow, stretches up to the Great Plains and Upper Plains with snow, and that's basically what that looks like. Potentially some snow showers, some snow accumulation getting down into portions of Tennessee and Carolinas, barely grazing the Carolinas, maybe perhaps the Mid-Atlantic. Here's the European model. Again, the European model is a little bit more widespread with the snow accumulation. Snow spreads for about pretty much the entire western half of the country through the northern half of the country. So northern and western half of the country gets a lot of snow. The most amount of snow still remains to be in the mountains across the California area, parts of Washington, and I still don't know what that state is called, but I'll figure that out soon enough. As far as rainfall accumulation goes, again, some of this is going to follow snow, so not necessarily all of this is rain. So, but plenty of rain to fall in the southeast after they just saw a snowstorm. I mean, how much more do they need? Another severe weather threat on top of a snowstorm and then a severe weather threat. They don't need much more than that. So, if anything, they don't need any of it. So, Pacific Northwest and up and down the West Coast dealing with much needed rainfall. The European model is going up and beyond, with like some areas picking up as much as 1 to 4 inches of rain again. Most of this would be snowfall. But since this is kind of out of those mountain areas, we're dealing more of a rain threat than anything. But pretty much the entire country gets on beneficial rain, which we're still in a decent drought right now, as you might have seen in my latest video. But again, this is good stuff. So here's the GFS model in this entire situation. So about the upper plains, a little bit of spot gets a little bit less than the average. So then pretty much the entire country dealing with widespread rainfall. Again, some of this is going to follow snowfall, especially up in the entire terrains. But again, these are little spots here picking up a few inches of rain, which is very good for the wildfire situation. As a matter of fact, it's in the same exact area as the wildfire situation. Even better for them. That's the best case scenario at this point. Honestly, they probably need a full-on hurricane, but they can take all the rain they can get. That was not to be meant as a joke, by the way. So Florida, perhaps northern Florida, getting on maybe not so much rainfall, but that's that. Alright, so hopefully I didn't miss anything. I don't think I really did, but if I did, then I did. So I'm kind of too early to check out the severe weather threat. Obviously, the HRRR model is best for that severe weather threat as far as the significant tornado parameter and the supercell composite goes. The wind shear is still available with the European model, the other models, but you have to look for the specifics with the HRRR model and other, mesoscale models. But other than that, that's what that is. So, again, a few winter storms are definitely possible with this upcoming weather pattern. It's going to be a little bit of a much different weather pattern than we've seen pretty much this entire winter, starting from about the December time frame. It's going to be a little bit more of a fluctuating jet stream, a little bit more of allowing warmer air to rise up into the northern half of the country rather than, cold air just dominating the entire country. So it's kind of a relief for some people. I still think there's a flood threat for the southeast, especially where areas in far southeastern Louisiana, specifically the Lafayette area, got a significant amount of snowfall. I think 10 inches of snow plus. Could be completely wrong. But combined with a rainfall and maybe even some, I don't know, that could definitely create some problems as far as flooding goes. Probably not a widespread flooding problem, but that's still a pretty significant problem. And it's not even any better, because when you get the heavy rainfall and then you get these temperatures rise way back and up into the 70s and 80s, that's going to cause some flooding. No significant flooding, but it will cause flooding. But I think there's potential for many snowstorms. A severe weather outbreak looks possible. And yeah, that's really that. So, and California looks to get on some rain, and now that I'm looking at it, right in the California area right now, right of now, they are getting on some rainfall. Very good. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please like the video and at least consider subscribing. If not, subscribe. Again, we've just surpassed the goal of 50 subscribers. We're on the road to 100 subscribers. Again,
Not the most amount of subscribers, but I'm trying to take it easy. We'll eventually work our way up, potentially. Again, I don't think 1,000 subscribers is necessarily going to happen, but you never know these days. Anyways, like I said, like the video and subscribe. And yeah, stay safe out there, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.